Warning, we are not your attorneys. Please, don't take anything we say as legal advice. I'm Geoff.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Derrick.
And you are listening to the Not So Grand Jury,
which is now sponsored by Morwa P. LLC. Well, we have a fun one today, guys. At least I think it's fun. I don't know if you guys think it's fun.
I'd agree.
I don't know if you guys think it's fun. It's a fun one in the sense that I think we've done a little less research for it because there's so many things we could talk about that this is going to be a very interesting conversation. So today we're talking about the movie Minority Report, which came out in 2002. Directed by Steven Spielberg and based on Philip K. Dick, great name, short story, which is a science fiction thriller set in the year 2054, where the District of Columbia, where I am currently located right now, is trying out a specialized police department known as PreCrime. Basically, apparently, they came across three psychics known as precognitives or Precogs who can predict and prevent murders. Only murders.
Very specifically,
by only murders is
very specifically
question.
Only murders.
Yep.
Very specifically, only murders, just like only murders in the building. It's only murders.
Beat me to it.
I beat you to it before they occur. So only murders in D.C. Chief John Anderton, played by Tom Cruise, is a, I think it's supposed to say decorated officer who's haunted by the loss of his son and sort of believes in the infallibility of the system, at least on first. Until, in a kind of super fun, one of the more fun moments of the film, when he finds out that he is the perpetrator of a future murder, which is kind of fun. He ends up fleeing because, of course, if you're going to be committing a crime, you might as well flee and go find the person you're set to go kill. And
also,
to try to uncover,
as he says in the movie, they always run.
Everyone runs. They always run. So he sets out to uncover the truth. He questioning the very foundation of pre-crime, and I'm going to try to summarize this as best as possible. But basically, he uncovers evidence that the system is not as perfect as even he thought, despite the fact that he was sort of the main officer involved in 6 years of pre-crime. He ends up kidnapping one of the precogs, Agatha, who's supposedly the most gifted one, and uncovers the concept of minority reports, hence the film title, which are basically alternative future outcomes that are suppressed to maintain the illusion of infallibility. He also discovers at least one way in which pre-crime, the pre-crime division can be manipulated into not arresting the correct person. I have an issue with that on the fact side, but we'll get there in a second. Sure. And the plot ultimately reveals that pre-crime has been manipulated for personal and political motives. The 6-year program was disbanded, and pretty much everyone who was found "quote unquote" guilty of a pre-crime has been released and are being monitored, which I'm sure is not at all problematic for the District of Columbia.
Well, yeah, and should we start there with found guilty of anything?
So yes. All right. So how would you present this evidence in court?
I want to talk about, before you even get there, it doesn't seem like there are any trials going on, which is odd to me, because the movie takes the time to, every time they get a red ball, or I guess or a brown ball, they have a judge and somebody else who are witnesses to him doing this investigation, but they are never testifying in anything. The defendants have this halo put on them that
seems like a Fifth Amendment violation. No, sorry, Eighth Amendment violation.
I mean, it seems like a slew of violations.
Yeah. They're just not allowed to move at all. It is a nice detail, nice Spielberg detail, where it's like the witnesses today are the Chief Justice, yada yada.
Case number 1108, pre-visualized by the Precogs, recorded on holosphere by PreCrime's Q-Stacks. My fellow witnesses for case number 1108 are Dr. Catherine James and Chief Justice Frank Pollard. Good morning.
Good morning.
Will the witness preview and validate number 1108 at this time?
Affirmative, I will validate.
Go get him.
Stand by.
Time of murder, 8:04 a.m. That is 24 minutes, 13 seconds from now. This is a red one.
Well done, but Yeah, it seems like I don't know how. Is it testimony that the precogs are seeing these things? Is this hearsay?
Well, so let's not jump into everything at one shot. Let's try to make this a sort of reasonable conversation. So I will be your guide as we go through all the reasons why this would never frickin' happen. So let's first talk about the fact that it's only murder, which is very specific. It's not manslaughter, nor is it apparently rape or other crimes of specific intent. It is only murder because of that special. That's what they basically said is murder special.
Right.
Effectively.
Then why can't they see rapes or assaults or suicides?
Because of the nature of murder. There's nothing more destructive to the metaphysical fabric that binds us than the untimely murder of one human being by another.
Somehow I don't think that was Walt Whitman.
It was Iris Hinneman. She developed Precogs, designed the system, and pioneered the interface.
So let's talk first about so before we go, Geoff, let's talk about what murder is. Just to clarify.
Basics.
Right. Because I know everyone out there who's not a lawyer is like, murder's murder. Well, there are specifics as to what is murder. So murder is a type of what we call criminal homicide. It means one person has caused the death of another person. It is done either purposely, knowingly, recklessly, or negligently. That is criminal homicide. That is the overall what happens when someone kills another person. Then there are different versions of criminal homicide: murder, manslaughter, and negligent homicide. Murder is generally when it is committed purposely or knowingly. There are other ways where murder can happen. For purpose of this conversation, I don't even want to get into the other ways, like, the whole recklessly causing extreme indifference to the value of human life, because that already throws us off.
We should note that the definition of murder and manslaughter is going to vary slightly based on jurisdiction. In common law, definition is usually unlawful killing with malice aforethought, meaning you had to plan it, you had to intentionally kill somebody, and it's not like a spur of the moment thing.
Right. And I guess to clarify, what the definition I'm using is actually the model penal code, and we've talked about model rules before, which are basically the models that many jurisdictions have, in fact, modeled their rules off of. So not, like as Mike said, every jurisdiction's a little different, but I'm speaking sort of generally as to what is a murder. And as Mike said, there's other sort of definitions. There's
also
as well.
Commonly we encounter the commonly you hear the word manslaughter in these movies, and I do wonder, are we immediately breaking one of the rules where they say they can't think about murder, but they can't detect it unless it's murder? But sometimes that murder looks a lot like manslaughter.
Well, that's a fair point, because manslaughter is essentially the same thing, except done recklessly, normally. Either recklessly or with extreme difference to human life or something along those lines. So it is a little interesting that they focused only on murder, which is, purposely knowing. Now, I think, and again, this is me guessing, purposely or knowingly is something that apparently the precogs can see. Let's even just assume that's the case in this very interesting, hypothetical, completely not at all weird, situation. There's still a lot of other problems. One, there's a few things in the U.S. Constitution that I don't think are getting changed anytime soon, and they certainly will not be changed just for the purpose of DC precrime. Among other things, there's this whole guarantee to the right of a jury trial, which is in Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. There's a few amendments. I think a kind of big one is that whole right to a speedy trial thing.
Yep.
Another big one is that whole protection from self-incrimination thing in due process. That's the Fifth Amendment. The other one was the Sixth Amendment. And then, of course, the prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment, which weirdly is the fourth issue here. It's not even top. It's just by the way, let's throw in the fact that you can't be
also unreasonable search and seizure, which less about what the precogs did and more about what the other police state things happening were.
Yes. There's a lot of issues. Now, one thing I was going to jump into the fact that, so that's the U.S. Constitution that mostly applies to federal stuff.
Can I throw in one more?
Keep going, because there's a lot here.
It's not directly implicated. Well, it's not directly implicated by PreCrime itself, but they are apparently having a nationwide referendum vote on whether or not to make PreCrime national, which is not a thing in the federal system.
The gentlemen of justice want to take all this away from us. You understand? A week from now, people are going to vote on whether or not what we've been doing down here has been some noble-minded enterprise or a chance to change the way this country fights crime.
I understand.
You've heard of nationwide referendums, right? Because it's not a thing.
That's how we
or never
legalize
happened.
marijuana, right?
just a nationwide referendum, because that's what happens in the United States, guys.
Yeah.
So this is a fun fictional world. Oh, just a note on how, like, this is supposed to kind of be far enough in the future that these things could happen. We live in a world now that is almost as close as we were to at the time this movie came out. That's when it takes place.
Correct. So we are 23 years after the movie comes out. We are only 29-ish years away from this supposed pre-crime.
I have a bunch of comments on the technology and how quaint it is that they're like having to move data on physical media.
My favorite part is 2054 is really weird because Georgetown looks the same, but everything else in DC looks like it's 200 years later.
Yep.
Like really cool cars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they have a whole new transportation system of, like, mag cars riding up buildings, and yeah.
They can't get a metro line out to Dulles without, like, 40 years of planning.
Yeah.
But no, they're going to basically, like, pave and elevate all of DC's roads.
Right. Well, there's a lot of issues in D, such as the fact that most buildings cannot go above the Capitol in terms of height.
Well, they got rid of the Constitution, so they can change that now.
Well, the good thing is that, and I was actually going to mention this earlier with regards to the constitutional issues, there is no DC Constitution because it's not a goddamn state.
True.
So there's only the DC Code, but the DC Code pretty much has all the things that the U.S. Constitution has enshrined in it in various other ways, including like such as if a criminal defendant is entitled to a jury trial as long as the potential sentence is for more than half a year. So clearly, the DC Code has been heavily modified to allow pre-crime to even happen. And apparently, the DC Court of Appeals was just like, yeah, we don't need to go forward with any of the constitutional requirements here. But I guess we're going to have to suspend disbelief on that and just sort of move forward to be like, okay, the only way this is feasible in this world is that apparently the Constitution has just been thrown out, which, listen, we're in the second Trump term. That could be the case by the time we've ended the Trump term, for all the heck I know. So let's assume that the Constitution has, for the most part, been thrown out. Let's talk about other aspects of this, such as how you figure out whether someone has committed murder. Because murder isn't just about the act, it's about what you intended to do.
Right. Beyond just the killing, because self-defense is legal.
Correct. Right. There are defenses, there are mistakes. So like you could
what literally happens in the movie? John Anderson is arrested for killing a man. The man grabbed the gun and wouldn't let him go away and was threatening. That's honestly, I don't even know if he pulled the trigger.
Correct. Yeah, that's either he might not even be guilty of a crime. Yeah. At most, it's negligent because he had the gun, but that's literally that's it, yeah. Right? So to try to explain an entire semester of criminal law into a few minutes for the non-lawyer out there. Oh, there are different versions of crimes. There's specific intent and general intent crimes. And I'm not even going to try to get into sort of the really like general intent, especially means that you've done something that is illegal by just doing the act. I think speeding is a good example. If your car is going 100 miles an hour, it doesn't matter how it got to 100 miles an hour, you're committing some type of violation, right? As compared to murder, which it's not just the act of killing someone. You have to have what is called the mens rea, or the guilty mind, criminal intent to do it. You shooting a gun by itself is not necessarily murder, even if someone dies, because you could have had a scenario where you fired it into a different direction, not planning to kill someone, but there happened to be someone there. You could have, shot it into a wall and it turns out there was someone on the other side. There are reasons why you could have actually killed someone and not have been guilty of murder.
I'm curious.
Yes.
In this fictional world, if a war happens, are the precogs just totally overwhelmed?
Huh.
because it's all, intentional killing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no. War is not murder. It's because this is the state using its legitimate use of force.
So the Precogs ability is that finicky.
It doesn't work. It's turned off there.
Well, apparently it also ends at the DC border,
Yeah, no, very strict borders are followed.
Yeah, the Precogs can't see beyond the 10 mile by 10 mile radius, guys.
Baltimore does not exist to them.
If it seems like if you press on this, the whole thing falls apart.
Gaithersburg doesn't exist to them.
Right. One side of Chevy Chase they don't acknowledge, but the other side of Chevy Chase
Right.
they acknowledge.
There's some issues here.
Correct. There's a couple other issues on the factual side because, and by the way, we're going to spoil the whole freaking movie here. So
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie that came out 20 something years ago, I'm just real sorry.
right, but like we're going to spoil everything here.
Also, it's based on a book that came out even before that. So
Right. One big aspect of this, and this is in fact one of the reasons why Anderton discovers that whoever the DC chief of police is the one that's like, committed murder and all this other stuff, is that there's the supposed precog deja vu where they see the same crime twice. And supposedly they can see it twice. And basically the technician says, okay, it's the same crime twice. We shut down those so that the precogs don't lose their mind.
So they stopped the murder.
Well, that's just an echo. Precog deja vu, if you will. The really bad ones, the precogs see them over and over again. Wally, erase the incoming.
However, you can't tell me that in the Anne Lively murder that there wouldn't have been two different balls that would have said the DC chief of police was one of the murderers, because it would have seen both. Yes, it is theoretically possible that there would have looked like a deja vu, but it would have come up with a ball.
So to use the movie's logic, is it possible that the technician is the one that's like plugging it in so it gets written on the ball, and maybe he cuts it off before then? Not that makes any sense.
I mean, why do the precogs know the name of the perpetrator and the names of the victims, but not the location?
Yeah.
Or,
Also,
none of it makes sense.
They can't do conspiracy to commit murder because, like, then it would have had the chief of or whatever whoever was planning the murder to begin with, whoever hired the homeless in the movie. What's his name? Who's the?
Oh, Max von Sydow.
There we go. The big villain is revealed to have been one of Tom Cruise's allies the whole movie.
Lamar Burgess.
There we go.
Yeah. That's the name of the character.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about Agatha's mother, Anne Lively. Just a junkie who had a kid once and had to give her up, but surprise, she cleaned herself up. And she wanted her daughter back. She wanted Agatha. So now you had to get rid of Anne Lively. You had to shut her up, which presented a problem. How can you kill her without the precogs seeing it? Simple. Use a system you control against her. So you hired someone to kill her for you, knowing full well the precogs would see that murder. You lured Anne Lively out to the lake with the promise of reuniting her with her daughter. And then when you were all alone, you killed her yourself. In the same way the precogs predicted your John Doe would kill her. You made the real murder look like an echo, knowing the tech would do what he was trained to do, disregard it. Anne Lively became just another missing person. So, what are you gonna do, Lamar? What are you gonna do?
Right, because the pre-crime division found out that guy was going to kill her, tear him away, and then he comes in and kills her. Now, interesting thing, I don't think that would have happened that way because we find out later that most of the time they're able to see 4 weeks into the future that someone is going to kill her. I have a feeling they would have caught him in his own home days before and not as he's walking towards her, because this was not a crime of passion.
Right.
This was so unless he paid him the money like an hour before.
No. Well, they said it was a John Doe. They never identified him, right? So it was probably a homeless person, and he probably like my what I imagine happened is he planned this outside of the city limits, so they couldn't find him. 1 foot on the other side of Chevy Chase. Had him go in there, try and kill her and was right behind her to do that. I just don't understand if they had the name of the first person, why not the name of the like, why not have, it can't do two names at once? Because two people were planning this murder.
Correct. Again, it falls apart when you get to anything of like knowingly and purposely, but you didn't actually commit the crime.
Have either of you read any Philip K. Dick? Did anybody read this book?
I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep years ago. That Blade Runner is based on. I
love Blade Runner, but I never actually read the books. I've heard that a friend of mine said that this is no, I guess it's not true. Said that this is a prequel to Total Recall, but the internet says that is not true.
What's funny, with Max von Sydow in it could be a prequel to Judge Dredd, where there's also just summary justice.
Yep, that makes more sense. I have some Fourth Amendment things I want to jump on if we can.
Sure, I think I want to talk about all these constitutional implications and okay. Like, let's say pre-crime was a thing. How would it actually work if there were like due process and rules of evidence and things like that?
Yeah, okay, all right. Let me do my little Fourth Amendment thing.
Yeah.
I imagine this book mostly is about the precogs, and most of the surveillance state things were invented for the movie, but I have not read the book.
I mean, the book was 56, so I have a feeling that's correct.
So in the movie, there's a moment where they're trying to find Tom Cruise's character. They have like an infrared overlay of the buildings. They can see how many bodies are in there, and then they throw these little magical metal spider things that run around, invade everybody's space, scan everybody's eyeballs, and then leave and say, "Oh, he's not in there." This movie came out in what, 2002, 2003?
Yeah,
2002.
Yeah. So there's a case, Kylo v. the United States, where the Supreme Court said use of thermal imaging devices to monitor heat radiation in or around a person's house, even if it's from a public vantage point, is an unconstitutional search. I didn't see them get a warrant here.
Well, no, Mike. What you filter is they have a warrant for the entire district at all times.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Like that's the pre-crime just has carte blanche to just do whatever the F it wants.
And that's ignoring the fact that like these little robots that are little agents of the police are just like barging into your house, climbing on you, scanning your eyeballs, and then running around. Like,
or in the case of Tom Cruise, apparently able to give you electrical shocks to make you come to the surface.
Oh yeah.
Or just wake up.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, there's a couple issues, guys. Geoff, feel free to jump into one of the 13 constitutional issues.
I mean,
that issue here.
Sure.
Pick one. Pick your favorite.
I just kind of want to. Okay, let's assume that there are precogs who can sense when someone is going to commit a crime. All right.
Murder. Only murder, Geoff.
The cops use this information to find out where the murder is going to happen. You'd need to get a warrant for that location. So you would need to have probable cause to believe that a crime, under our current terminology, that a crime is being or has been committed, and that you will find evidence of the crime there. That is not the case here, so we have to rejigger things a little bit and accept that I guess there has been like expert, examination of how these work, and that there is, verifiable scientific research that backs this up to show that what they see is actually happening.
So here comes a question. Let's go to like bare basics. Let's assume what we think is true at the start of the movie, that these precogs are infallible. They see the future for murders. Mm-hmm. Can a precog vision be probable cause?
Yeah.
Because all right, so in real life, there are some court cases examining can psychics give testimony, things like that. Almost, I don't want to say universally, a strong number of them have ruled absolutely no, this is ridiculous. Some percentage of the time, judges have let it in because judges are human beings and human beings are stupid.
Well, and also sometimes I think, listen, I've been in some court cases where judges let stuff in because they know they're ruling against them or whatever, and they're like, I'm going to let you have every bit of stuff on your side, so I end up kicking this out anyway. Right. It also reminds me of a numbers episode that we might want to do in the future because there's a psychic that gets involved there. But every episode of this podcast we do, I'm reminded of more episodes that we need to do.
Add it to the list. I'm not aware of any cases where psychics have been used for probable cause, that would be very problematic.
Yeah.
Well, no, and listen, this is absolutely problematic. We are making the assumption that the precogs know what they're doing.
Right. That's kind of I'm thinking of it more in terms of like a police dog alerting to someone's bag or maybe drug residue in the trunk of a car or something like that.
And just for the listener's benefit, probable cause is usually like reasonable basis for believing a crime has been committed, that a person or place is to be searched is connected to said crime. I suppose if you have experts saying, hey, psychics are now real, then you can go forward.
And at least as reliable as a dog sniff, because everyone thinks they're completely infallible.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so I think we have to make an assumption here that we can say that the precogs have been tested in terms of court tested, police approved.
Sure.
Kind of like Kicks.
Yep.
But somehow the minority report thing never come.
Yeah, no one's aware of that. Even the people like most aware of the system are not aware of that.
Well, what I love about this movie, for so many reasons, is that Minority Report's the name of the movie. He doesn't have a minority report.
Right. Yeah.
They make it to be such a big deal, and it's sort of this like, it's almost shown as the icing on the cake for pre-crime, and that's how he gets there. But he doesn't have one.
Max von Sydow has one.
Also, I think one of the differences in the book is that actually they did have that, I think.
Oh, interesting. Because you're right. The Burgess one does have one. So he has a minority report because apparently the twins are idiots and don't see the second murder.
Right.
Because again, you're a precog and you don't see all the visions. What good are you? I mean, geez. Earn your keep, for God's sakes. So yeah, I mean, listen. Once you get to the minority report thing, the whole thing falls apart. Not that it's great before.
I mean, it fell apart before you got to that point. But yes,
if we assume the infallibility argument, we assume that they're infallible. Can it even be used for probable cause in this scenario? And I don't think there's again, it has to be court. It would have to pass but the number of things that would have to happen for a judge to sign off on the probable cause warrant, what he's doing, so what Tom Cruise is doing at the start of the movie, the scrubbing of the images or whatever, with the two witnesses, with the precogs, that all together may get you probable cause to then go to a judge to get a warrant. But then you have to know where you're going, which he doesn't know. He doesn't know until he literally runs into it when he asked his assistant to confirm the doors open. So the short version is that the first pre-murder is a murder. There's no way they're preventing that murder unless they see the guy about to murder him through the freaking window and they drop in. Mm-hmm. And even that, I wonder if that could actually hold up in court because they probably have committed a bunch of violations to get to that point.
Well, and going back to Kylo, if using thermal imaging to look inside someone's house is a search, then so is using a psychic to look inside someone's house, which is exactly what they're doing. So they need a warrant for the targeted location before they even look at the information that the psychic...
And then even if you get around all that and we actually finally go to court over this, like, what's the proof that they were going to commit murder? It's like, oh, the psychic told us that they saw it, so is that hearsay?
So you have to physically pick the precogs up, bring them to court.
Yeah.
You have to attach all the wires.
No, I have this wooden ball. This says that he was going to commit murder, Your Honor. I have the wooden ball. It's red. It's red. I have witnesses that saw me at the wooden ball.
Your Honor, Exhibit A. Exhibit A, here's the ball that says this guy's the name. Here's Exhibit B, this is the name of the people he was going to kill. Yeah. Let's ignore the fact that they're sitting right there. They're sitting right there. They're right there.
Yeah.
But they were going to be murdered.
This red ball that I got from these three people that we have just captive in this pool
don't ignore that. Ignore the slaves that we have in the pool.
Who are being taken care of by the weirdest guy that's ever existed.
Weirdest guy. And just one guy.
I wish they had leaned into that even more. Like, it was just like, there's like one scene where he wants to kiss one of them, but I wish they kind of like just stayed on that for a little longer.
Because apparently he takes care of them 24/7.
He sleeps in the pool.
Yeah.
Just him.
Where do they go to the bathroom? Honestly, a question I have for a lot of this movie is where do, like, the people in the Halos, where do they go to the bathroom? They're all standing on top of each other.
They're all standing on top of each other and totally nude. So it's not as though...
Let it go.
It's a little more disgusting than we care to admit. Okay. So I think not that we thought this was going to go to a place of, nope, pre-crime works. I don't think pre-crime works. Let me throw another wrench into this whole thing, which is, and this is something I kind of forgot about until I started doing research into this, the concept of attempting a crime.
Sure.
Because you can certainly have what I referred to before as the mens rea, the guilty mind, the criminal intent, but not successfully do the act. Now, apparently, the precogs are so good that they can tell you're going to do it and you're going to succeed. How can the precogs tell that I'm actually good at shooting a gun? Or how can the precogs tell that I'm not going to chicken out at the very end?
So I think the movie actually does kind of address that, in as much as we keep calling them psychics, but the movie explains it away as they are simply preternaturally good at pattern recognition and can, while sitting in this room, kind of watch the world play out and know how things are going to interact.
When the precogs declare a victim and a killer, their name is embedded in the grain of wood. Since each piece is unique, the shape and grain is unique. The shape and grain is impossible to forge.
I'm sure you all understand the legalistic drawback to pre-crime methodology.
Here we go again.
Look, I'm not with the ACLU on this, Geoff. But let's not kid ourselves. We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
But they will. The commission of the crime itself is absolute metaphysics. The precogs see the future, and they're never wrong.
But it's not the future if you stop it. Isn't that a fundamental paradox?
Yes, it is. You're talking about predetermination, which happens all the time. Why'd you catch that?
Because it was going to fall.
You're certain?
Yeah.
But it didn't fall. You caught it. The fact that you prevented it from happening doesn't change the fact that it was going to happen.
You ever get any false positives? Someone intends to kill his boss or his wife, but they never go through with it. How do the precogs tell the difference?
Precogs don't see what you intend to do. Only what you will do.
So they would know then that something would prevent you from committing the crime that you're intending to commit. But that also means that they would have to see the pre-crime people prevent the guys from doing the crimes, so the crimes never happen, so they never detect it happening. I mean, again, the whole thing falls apart.
They are in a world that pre-crime doesn't exist, but pre-crime exists. Is this right? Is this where we say time's a flat circle? I don't know. I've never understood the time is a flat circle thing. But Mike's just happy
we
I
can
said
do
it.
true crime next. You want to do that?
Listen, there's a lot of things that don't hold up. And let's be honest, and this is, so the law of there's a lot of cases on the law of attempt. And I remember we spent a fair amount of time on this in criminal law, which is you can basically get to 99% of the 100% about to commit a crime, but you voluntarily abandon it and don't do it. There is no crime.
Yeah.
You can, let's be honest, if you wanted to murder someone in California, you could buy the weapon, buy the bullets, fly to California, drive to that person's house. You could even come close to breaking into their house, get to the front step and go, I'm not going to do it. Or you could even get on their property while they're standing in the front lawn. You could have your finger on the gun in your pocket and then be like,
not feeling it.
No,
Yeah.
not going to do it. You have not committed, you may have committed
Don't
something.
take legal advice
there might
from podcast.
No, listen, you may have done some minor, you may have you can't transport a gun on an airplane. You can't, there's things that you probably have committed. However, you have not done the crime that, you were envisioning
and to
committing.
To some extent, that's the argument against inchoate crimes to begin with. So attempted murder or conspiracy to commit whatever is I didn't actually do the thing. I was attempting to do the thing.
Right. Well, it's all about guilty mind, which is very hard to prove sometimes, right? You have to prove it. You almost always have to prove it through indirect evidence or circumstantial evidence. So for the viewer, in previous episodes, Mike had the air conditioning up high enough that we could hear it on his video recording. We have now made Mike sit in a sweatbox because
for 40
can't
minutes.
Have the AC
it is
on.
100 degrees outside. It is 8 p.m. and it is, I guess it's cooled down a little bit. It is now 90 degrees outside.
It is 90 degrees where Mike is. I think it actually did get to 100 down in DC today. It came darn close. And by the way, I'm sweating and I have the AC on. So I can only imagine that Mike is probably dying. The one question I wanted to ask you, Geoff,
Sure.
is a very big part of the justice system is you don't have to testify on your own behalf. Like,
That's true.
The prosecution has to prove the crime. Well, that's blown out the window.
Yeah.
Because according to them, you did it.
Well, I mean,
or we're going to do it. You did it, but you were going to do it.
Right.
How do you prove you weren't going to do it if the precog said you were going to do it?
I don't know that I even need to do research to answer that question, because it's just not like I almost can't wrap my head around how that would function. Like, so they are not reading people's minds. Well, or maybe they are, because the way one of the agents describes it at the very beginning of the movie is that murder is such a metaphysically grave thing that it like reaches back and impacts the precogs. But then they also explain away their skills, so through like pattern recognition and whatnot. But they know a murder is going to happen, and they can like see it, but
They can taste it.
we're never purview to the person's thoughts at the time. So is anyone being forced to testify against themselves in a world where this is a real thing?
So we're talking Fifth Amendment violations, not the precogs, but there are a bunch of cases about admission.
Well, I'd be very surprised if there were cases about the precogs, but
No, but your cell phone, getting information from your cell phone, electronic devices, and I'm wondering if we do see some weird invasions of privacy, scanning your eyeballs constantly. We don't see them looking in your cell phones because in 2002 people hadn't really thought too much about cell phones.
right. And can I just say how like it's funny to see this system where there are cameras everywhere and I guess instantaneous access to a database of everyone's retinas that they are constantly checking, and the upkeep that system would require, versus we all just have cell phones.
Yep, that tell you everything about us
with
anyway.
SIM cards that we're just constantly being tracked. That is the state of the world.
The vision of the future from science fiction from the past is always very interesting. I was watching this movie with Hannah, and she mentioned that she like this and Gattaca. They made her watch in high school, which I find funny because Gattaca makes sense. This does not.
Interesting.
But both movies have like weirdly aged in certain ways. So I always like meant in Gattaca, one of the things that he does, he gets eye surgery, so his vision is 20/20. But they do it with scalpels because Gattaca came out the same year that LASIK was invented.
Interesting.
So like weird things age movies very quickly sometimes. They hadn't thought much about cell phones, even though 2002 cell phones were a thing, but not to this extent.
Yeah, not nearly as prevalent, and there weren't smartphones. Yeah.
Now, one thing that is interesting that this gets us away from pre-crime, but I'm perfectly fine with that, is the individualized advertisements when people go in with their eyes and they like advertise to you.
A road diverges in the desert. Lexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you follow
Good evening, John. You can move the old-fashioned
John Anderton.
One-night stands provides gourmet cuisine.
John Anderton! You can use a Guinness right about now.
Stressed out, John Anderton?
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderton. Forget your troubles.
Because here's what's interesting. That's already goddamn happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so my personal example recently is apparently, as a business lawyer, I talk a lot about setting up LLCs and businesses. I can't freaking get away from advertisements about Zen Business, basically any competitor technically of mine who is setting up small businesses. I cannot get away from those advertisements on YouTube, Instagram, you name it. And by the way, this may shock you, I'm not Googling how to set up an LLC. I goddamn know how to set up an LLC. So it's not like they're doing it based on my search history or anything else. They're doing it because they hear me say stuff.
No.
And
Gmail,
so we are
if you use Gmail,
it's your computer's not listening to you, at least not yet. It's because Gmail, Facebook, whatever, you're interacting with people who are Googling how to set up an LLC, or you're emailing them. There is this paranoid belief that your phone is listening to you all the time, and maybe at some point that will happen. But just the bandwidth to send all of the record, like it wouldn't just be your phone, it'd be your laptop, your phone, your watch, and then the bandwidth to send all of that to some database where they would then analyze it and then speech recognize it and then send you the advertisements. It's too much bandwidth.
I still believe they're listening to me because I don't use my Gmail for this stuff, but it's okay. I'm sure that listen, if there's one, if there's one,
anything that Google uses for advertising.
If there's one conspiracy theory I'm going to have, it's that the generic they is listening to me, but somehow it's only Zen Business.
Okay.
Zen Business, Taylor Brands, other places that claim they can set up an LLC, but then in every single one of their advertisements have a thing at the bottom that says, make sure you get legal advice because we can't give you legal advice. Hi, everyone. Derrick here with a brief message. The Not So Grand Jury is sponsored by my law firm, Moore Law PLLC. One of Moore Law's practice areas is business law. If you are a business owner or someone who is thinking of starting up a new or side business, you need a legal team who can efficiently provide you legal counsel, keeping you and your business away from potential legal issues, and if necessary, representing you in any disputes that do arise. We pride ourselves on being cost efficient while also getting to know our clients. If you want less stress and more support, you need Moore Law. If you would like to set up a free consult, please click on the link in the show notes or email us at contact@mooreatty.com. That's mooreatty.com. And now, back to the show.
On the note of the advertisements, amazing product placement. We're just blinding, like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, American Express, Gap, throwing these things at you, and just like... It's almost a joke of like, oh, in the future, advertising is going to be really obnoxious. Want to buy something from Gap?
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How those assorted tank tops work out for you?
Mr. Yakamoto.
Hey, Miss Belfort, did you come back for another pair of those chamois lace-ups?
And Gap probably paid for that.
Look at this awesome Lexus car.
Oh, the 2054. Which is,
yes.
Oh, on that note, there's a link I put in the document. You can see the inside of it.
Oh, fun! That's the car.
That's the car that was assembled around Tom Cruise. Which weirdly you kind of can't tell what's front or back. And then if you go to the very end, you can see like, oh, this is bare bones. Which
makes sense. I will leave a link in the show notes to that Reddit thread because that is entertaining. Yeah, and I really find it funny that this is the car that they use in the movie, but in Georgetown, it's cops on horses.
Yeah, there's some interesting tone shifts where they had a bunch of ideas for transportation all at once. Like, oh, jetpacks are going to be super common. Also, hover cars. Also, maglev cars. Also, like, this is probably the most realistic thing where there's like a red sports car, except I guess it's a manual, so that's unrealistic. Nobody drives manuals.
Honestly, I think it just proves that Georgetown, even in 2054, is not going to let any technology jump into their area. They don't have a metro now. They're not going to allow any of this shit into Georgetown. It's going to be the same thing.
It's the same thing except for the weird metro maglev cars.
Right. Well, I mean,
but they didn't have any elevated roadways or anything in the Georgetown that we saw.
Yeah.
Although from watching the movie and just knowing the layout of DC, whenever they were headed to Georgetown, Georgetown must no longer be where Georgetown is now.
They moved it.
So,
obviously, Georgetown just picked themselves up, moved themselves to further northwest.
Right. Moved them somewhere south of the mall.
Yeah. They put them on one of the maglev cars and just slid on down. There's like a bunch of interesting notes that they did, but then like Spielberg's so good and so talented sometimes, and then like some of these things seem like a little bit of a jumbled mess. Where like, oh, also there's like future plants that are moving around and doing crazy things in Venomous, but we only see them once in the movie because only one lady has them.
Correct. Here's what I'm going to tell you. this is possibly one of my favorite movies that does not hold up at all. Like, you really I actually really loved the movie when I watched it. I have it on DVD. I've watched it many a time. And we can talk about whether I like it or not very soon, because I think we've run out of other things to yell at PreCrime about.
I got notes.
Well, there's like rules of evidence and hearsay and expert testimony and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, nothing can come in because it's all hearsay. None, like that's the hearsay of it all.
The answer is the entire DC code on criminal law and the entire Constitution has to be thrown out. Then we get somewhere.
Right.
Basically.
We have no idea what the remote witnesses were for. I guess that was the trial.
That was the whole trial.
If they're going to have a nationwide vote on whether or not to make PreCrime national, but there's only these 3 precogs,
they actually see all the murders everywhere, and they just filtered it down.
how are they limiting it right now to just DC? How will they? Is there a switch they can flip on the precogs that will make them nationwide? How does this work?
Did you not hear that? That was a deleted scene, Geoff, where they basically
it's
said
the future, and nationwide is just slightly bigger than DC. The rest of the nation's gone.
Yeah, we all know that.
And you'd think they'd have to be like somewhere in Kansas, a little more central, to detect like both coasts. How are you getting Hawaii? How are you getting Hawaii and not like stuff going on in the UK? I don't get it.
They can see it all. They just intentionally limit it. They tell them like, hey, just think about the US. Think real hard about it.
Listen, Geoff, we all know it has to be Nebraska. It's the only triple landlocked country or triple landlocked state in the United States. So it's got to be in Nebraska, obviously.
Sure. I once went on a date with a girl from Nebraska, and I was fascinated that, like what's it like out there? And she's like, I live in a city. It was from Lincoln. It's like, yeah, but what's it like? It seemed so exotic to like Nebraska.
Listen, we learn more about each other every podcast.
I live in a city. I live in Philadelphia.
like
never left an urban
it's
environment.
Probably
There's corn. They have corn out there. Wow.
Oh boy. I think we've talked about the main stuff. We could sit here and talk about how all the factual issues with the movie, which we've already brought up on multiple occasions. The biggest factual discrepancy to me is what I've already brought up, which is the fact that how did they not see the second goddamn murder?
Yeah.
And I'm a little confused. I'm still not sure if I fully understand Minority Report, like what a Minority Report is, because it means the other two didn't see it, but the quote unquote smartest precog saw it.
Or they have a disagreement about who was the killer, maybe. We don't really know.
I'm not going to commit murder. I've never met the man I'm supposed to kill.
And yet a chain of events has started, a chain that will lead you inexorably to his murder.
Not if I stay away from him.
How can you avoid a man you never met?
So you won't help me?
I can't help you. Nobody can. The precogs are never wrong. But occasionally, they do disagree.
What?
Most of the time, all 3 precognitives will see an event in the same way, but once in a while, one of them will see things differently than the other two.
Jesus Christ. Why didn't I know about this?
Because these minority reports are destroyed the instant they occur.
Why?
Obviously, for PreCrime to function, there can't be any suggestion of fallibility. After all, who wants a justice system that instills doubt? It may be reasonable, but it's still doubt.
You said the minority report's destroyed.
The record is destroyed. The original report still exists. I designed the system so that whenever a report occurred, it would be stored in a safe place, but not declared.
What safe place is that?
Inside the precog who predicted it. All you have to do is download it, darling.
How do I even know which one has it?
It's always in the more gifted of the 3.
Which one is that?
The female.
I don't fully understand
the logic of this made-up movie.
Correct. That ends up not being a big deal anyway, because there is no Minority Report for Cruz, especially when he didn't actually kill him. So apparently they all missed it. She's in The room.
No, I know. I'm thinking through like according to what the creator of this whole system says to Tom Cruise's character, it's always the most capable of the precogs that will have the minority reports. So it will always be Agatha.
Yes.
Because she's the most adept. So if you know that is the case, and she is better at this than the other two, and sometimes her opinion differs, why isn't it her opinion that just controls?
Yeah, maybe they're overrating that, or maybe she's overstating that. Maybe there's times that the other ones have different opinions.
I mean, it's pretty far afield from the law, but no, because I mean, if this is evidence, like, you would have to weigh the credibility of each individual precog's vision of whatever happened.
I don't overthink this, Geoff.
That's what we're here to do, Mike. We are here to overthink. We did Jaws, man. Granted, that was my idea, but
Mike, this is why I decided to join your guys' cookie idea, is because we overthink everything. Right. By the way, I want to state for the record that, and I think that's my first state for the record of this podcast episode. Lois Smith played Dr. Iris Heinemann. I was planning to look her up to see when she passed away. She has not. She is still kicking at 94. God bless her. Good for her. Because she plays her
weirdly kissing Tom Cruise for no reasons at 94 years old.
But also, what was also in The Nice Guys?
Still going on, Geoff.
If you don't remember that,
she was the grandmother of the adult film actress.
That's very funny.
Right. So, yes, very well played by her, but also it still doesn't make any freaking sense.
No.
So anyway, I think we've hit all the. I say we've hit all the issues. We've probably hit 1/10 of the issues, because you could literally bring up any legal issue and it could possibly fit into this film.
All right. Can we move on from the legal issues and talk more about the movie for a second?
Go for
it. This was weirdly influential. I want to say, like, the Tom Cruise's whole dancing with his hands moment when he's showing the videos and everything. I feel like that has probably been watched by every UI designer since then, because there was literally a time when they were trying to have like whatever's on your screen be mirrored by your laptop, and you would flick it there or whatever. And like, people have tried to get this pre-touchscreen or pre-common use of touchscreen, but like a lot of that had to have gone into like the first iPhones.
Yeah, although some of them are very not
doesn't make sense. I understand that, but also like it looks good. And I think that's what they wanted, and it seems like it should almost be intuitive.
I think the most influential thing this movie has done is the three-fingered glove, which is now used by digital artists around the world to prevent their palms from accidentally being detected by their pen tablets.
Well, actually, I also want to state, now that we are talking about Tom Cruise's scrubbing, I love how the thing that gets them to the right place before the murder is committed is a park.
Oh yeah.
They discover that the kid was on a merry-go-round, and that's the thing. That's the big crystallizing moment that it's a park.
There's only 9 of those in the city, and we have a record of all 9 in the city merry-go-round record keeper.
Look at this kid. And this one, he's on the left side of the man in the suit.
Yes? So?
This one, he's on the right.
Merry-go-round.
It's a park.
Tell me there's only 16 of these old merry-go-rounds left in the city. 2 in Georgetown, 1 in Barnaby Woods, the other's in Woodley.
Woodley's all Victorian. It's got to be Barnaby Woods. Ivana, flight time?
Way I drive, 3 minutes after wheels up.
What database is that?
Listen, it's amazing what they had the capabilities to know, but yet when it was 7 of them against Tom Cruise, they lost.
Yeah. Well, the 6 sticks. They kept poking each other with the 6 sticks.
They had him in a goddamn alley, and you're telling me they couldn't freaking get him at that point? But they know that there's 9 merry-go-rounds in the goddamn city?
Also,
I don't believe it.
I know that this is not the first movie that Tom Cruise ran in, but this is definitely the movie that people yelled at him to run the most in.
I mean,
it might be the only time where we've wanted him to run, and he actually did.
The pre-crime division is not the best written. I mean, it is not the best run department. They have, so Tom Cruise at one point, he gets new eyes because his eyes would trigger all of the ads and whatnot, and they'd be able to track him. But with these fake eyes, he is able to access a back door, a literal physical back door with a retina scanner, to get into the pre-crime division, into the room with the precogs.
He has his real eyes with him. They're just in a little baggie.
Okay, but that's still his eyes, and they don't notice.
Yeah, fair.
I would say it's even worse. They haven't flagged him.
Right.
Yeah.
They think he's a murderer or pre-murderer, and they have not flagged his own goddamn eyes that he doesn't have access to the temple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even after he's arrested, they still work. Like after they know he did this.
Yeah.
Also, I presume his eyes came from a dead person. And again, pre-crime knows that there is only 9 merry-go-rounds in the city, but they can't figure out that a guy who just got scanned has been dead.
Yep.
So many things fall apart.
The shady criminal surgeon is just swapping out people's eyes. So none of them are dead. They're just all shoveling eyes. So you're just randomly guilty of other crimes when you put the eyes in.
Even better.
You think you're getting away with something, and it turns out you're actually a murderer now.
Apparently, some people are just voluntarily having their eyes removed, like his drug dealer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
right.
Maybe there is some trading and swapping going on.
That was a nice creepy scene for 2002.
It's like my daddy used to say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
I mean, listen, you can't be found guilty of anything if you have no eyes. You can't get scanned anywhere.
I mean, I go pretty far not to get ads fed to me.
Taking out your eyes. That's the 2054 thing.
Maybe if it was as ubiquitous as it appears to be in the film, I might go that far.
Random notes that I have: Tom Cruise freaks me out. That's just always the case.
Yeah, that's just generally true.
There's lots of fun little cuts where like you see like a quick cut of them jumping through the window, and then like glass just raining down on people. And it's like that's a very Spielberg 2000s move.
Yeah, the Spielberg. I kept thinking about AI, the artificial. Now it's hard to talk about that movie. The movie AI that was a like first a Stanley Kubrick film and then a Steven Spielberg movie. Yeah, there were some similar stylistic choices happening.
Same time period.
Yeah.
You guys want to do the ratings?
Yeah.
Anything else we want to hit?
I mean, listen, guys, I don't even think we have to talk about the rate. We know that this is real. I mean, this is legally as accurate as a movie as we've ever had.
Quickly looking online, and I have not checked this out, apparently like there was something in the book about the military being in control, so I'm guessing this is supposed to be after a time period when like there was significant change in the Constitution. Or no Constitution.
But weirdly, they specifically reference that the ACLU still exists and has problems with the pre-crime department.
Here we go again.
Look, I'm not with the ACLU on this, Geoff. But let's not kid ourselves. We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
But they will.
The commission of the...
Which, of course.
Weird.
To my colleagues at the ACLU, thank you for speaking up on behalf of the American citizens.
Well, the precogs know that you're going to speak up about it, so it's good.
No, but that's not metaphysically serious enough to...
Listen, obviously for this to have any potential realistic thing, the Constitution has been thrown out completely. And apparently the court system is just perfectly fine with this.
Completely. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the law, we're all saying nah.
And a no from me as well.
Nope. Just nope.
Yeah.
It's a slightly different way of doing our votes, but that's fine.
I think we all kind of like the movie. Derrick definitely does.
I love the movie. That's why I picked it.
This took me 2 sittings to get through. And I was sort of a captive audience. I was on the train for 2 hours and still had to stop for a while. I am so weirded out by Tom Cruise that I very often cannot get past it.
That's fair.
And also, and this is a thing for me. It is very easy for me to, for my suspension of disbelief to be broken. And one of the things that will do it is when a movie breaks its own internal rules. This happened to me with the Butterfly Effect, because there's a thing at the end that completely violates how they've told us specifically this thing works. And almost from the get-go, this was not working for me, and I was just getting more and more irritated as things piled up. No, I'm a no.
I like this movie. It's not perfect. Even at the time, I don't think I ever thought it was perfect. Tom Cruise is... I'm not sure what crimes he's committed, but he should be in jail. I just find him very uncomfortable.
Didn't know being uncomfortable was a crime, but...
it is now, in 2054.
So apparently the Not So Grand Jury is anti-Tom Cruise, at least on 2 of the 3 of us.
Oh, yeah, hard. Great actor, American treasure, should be in jail.
Did not get the memo, guys. Geez.
A friend of mine said that this is like one of his best movies, and it's like, that's unfortunate.
I disagree. That's one of his best movies. I would be curious, Geoff, if you had watched the movie without this freaking podcast in mind. Because obviously with this podcast in mind, it changes everything.
Geoff, you never saw it before this? Or
No, I watched this when it was in theaters and then have never thought about it again.
Okay.
So it still sounds like you're in the minority. It sounds like we actually sort of like it.
I mean, I'm in the minority in as much as I am voting no.
Mike appears to be.
I liked it.
Yes.
I don't think I was perfectly happy to watch this movie once every 20 years. And that seems about right.
So since I'm in the minority, will my portion of this conversation just never have happened?
Yep.
It'll just be you and Mike in the final.
You're being loaded into a bald lady's brain. I don't know.
Or the opposite, Geoff. It's only your part of the conversation that's going to be reported, because I think that's how that works. Because yours is the actual truth from what they're told us.
Yeah. Well, I am the most capable of
so this decision where how dare you? Okay. Well, on that note, I will say, so Geoff and I were talking about one of the Supreme Court decisions that came out recently where there's like one judge that wrote the majority opinion for parts 1 and 2. A different one wrote it for part 3 and 4A.
Yep.
There's a dissenting opinion that only applies, that one person signs on to except for one footnote. I feel like that's what's happened here, where I'm writing majority opinion and Mike's only signing on to like 2 sections of it.
Totally enjoyable movie to watch once every 20 years.
Right. And then Geoff's dissenting on everything. And then there's just a whole section on how much Tom Cruise sucks that both of you signed on to.
Oh, absolutely. Like I just very talented actor, very influential, must have done horrible things.
We are all in agreement on the law. So you're writing the majority opinion as to the law and
certain aspects of the facts. Yes.
I'm not going to try and stretch this metaphor any further.
Okay, this has been the Not So Grand Jury. Next week, we're watching King of the Hill again.
Oh, God, we are.
It's actually so much easier to talk about King of the Hill.
This has been a slightly different format of this podcast, a little more free-flowing than we usually are. So, listeners, let us know what you think.
Yeah, this is called The Movie Sucks So Much on the Law that we couldn't do much research. So let's just start talking about how much it sucks from, minute one. Let Derrick do about a half of the background, and then let's just dive right in about how much it's terrible. I'm actually curious what everyone thinks. I mean, I do personally, I like the fact when everyone's got their own individual issue and we ask questions of them and sort of chime in. There is an interesting possibility of just sort of free-flowing it, but I'm curious. For those of you who actually are active listeners and listen a lot, I would love, this is Not So Grand Jury, would love your thoughts. Cool. Stay cool, because it's hot.
Yeah.
Mike's dying. Mike is currently dying.
I'm going to stop recording now.
The Not So Grand Jury is sponsored by Morwa P. LLC.
The opinions expressed in the Not So Grand Jury are those of the hosts themselves and not of their respective employers.
The theme music for the Not So Grand Jury is from Gustav Holst's Jupiter and is in the public domain.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, if you want to suggest future movies, or even if you want to offer corrections, you can email us at notsograndjury@gmail.com or message us on any of our social media accounts.
The Not So Grand Jury is copyright 2025, all rights reserved.